Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. Thanks for being here. We're with you for the next 3 hours on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and, of course, on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. We are with you until 6 o'clock, and we hope that we will be throwing you to Royals baseball at that time, but the weather threat is, shall we say, looming over greater Kansas City, and there is a chance, certainly, that tonight's game is impacted by weather. But unless there is a postponement before 6 o'clock and the pregame shows start, that's what we're going to send you to here from the Royals Baseball Network at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. Royals and Twins, game 2 of their 3-game series. Royals looking to go over the 500 mark for the first time in 2026. Can do that with a win tonight. Noah Cameron making his 2026 debut on the mound for the Royals. 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch. And again, right now, we assume they're playing, but people looking at the radar maps don't have a great feeling about baseball being played in Kansas City tonight. So either way, we're with you until 6 o'clock here on 580 Sports Talk. Plenty to get to. We're going to talk some football today. It's a Wednesday, so we got Mock Draft Wednesday coming up. And we're going to steer into the NFL draft a little bit today. Looking big picture at the 9 draft picks the Chiefs have. First of all, how likely do you think it is they're going to make all 9 of those picks? I would put the odds of that somewhere between 0% and 0%. We know Brett Veach likes to use day 3 picks as trade chips more so than he likes to actually stand pat and make those trades. I don't suspect they're going to end up making 9 draft picks because at the end of this month, because we can say that now. This is the first day of April. This is April Fool's Day. I will not be doing any April Fool's jokes on this program. I have too much respect for you, the listener, to come up in here and do some April Fool's jokes and try and make fools out of all of you. I'm not going to do that to you today. I want to be very clear. This is a prank-free zone for the next 3 hours. I'm not doing it. We're not going to do it. We're not doing it on 580 Sports Talk. That's not how this show gets down. But anyhow, because it is the month of April, that means the NFL draft is this month. And do I think the Chiefs are going to use all 9 of their draft picks? No. But how should they allocate those picks? What needs should they be looking to address? I'm going to try and predict which positions the Chiefs are going to address in the 2026 draft. And as I mentioned, it is Mock Draft Wednesday. And we've got a pair of 7-round mock drafts to look at today. Both Matt Miller of ESPN.com and the duo of Sam McDowell and Pete Sweeney at the Kansas City Star have 7-round Chiefs mock drafts. We're going to go through those. I like the allocation of assets in one of the drafts a little better than I like it in the other. But we'll discuss that. Also, the continuation of the ongoing trend that seems designed specifically to make Chiefs fans pull their hair out of their scalps. The continued insistence that the Chiefs will draft a tackle with the number 9 overall pick. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. And you'll know who's doing it and who's not. But we'll get there in Mock Draft Wednesday. We're also going to talk some college basketball because the McDonald's All-America game was last night. You got to see, if you're a Kansas fan, you got to see future Jayhawk Talon Kinney and a player that you hope will be a future Jayhawk, Tyron Stokes. But there's a lot that's still sort of up in the air with regards to Kansas basketball, though the closer we get to the opening of the transfer portal, and it opens less than a week from today, you've certainly seen players already announce their intention to jump into the portal, and some players at lower levels are announcing their commitments. But largely at the Division I level, business starts getting done after the NCAA tournament. That's when you see a lot of things become official. That's where you start to see guys commit out of the portal, announce they are joining the portal. You'll even start to see it some, I think, in the next couple of days, because a lot of what guys are waiting on, to be completely frank with you, are NIL checks. You got some NIL guarantees through the month of March, stay on the roster, get that last check, and then hit the portal. That happens quite a bit. So the portal doesn't officially open until the day after the national championship game. And the closer we get to that, without any announcement from Kansas basketball, no announcement is an announcement at this point. And it sure seems like, contrary to maybe the vibe and certainly some of the rumor mongering, Bill Self's going to be the coach at KU for the 2026-27 season. And if that's the case, what's Kansas got to do to give him a Hollywood ending next year? We'll get into that a little bit. K-State, we're going to talk with our guy, Tim Fitzgerald. He's our guest today on the show. Fitz will join us bottom of the hour. Publisher, GoPowerCat.com. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, I should say, for the Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. We'll get Fitz's thoughts on the start to spring practice for K-State football and early recruiting news and coaching staff news for Kansas State men's basketball. Tim Fitzgerald joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And we'll do all of our typical Wednesday shenanigans on the program. We'll play One Gotta Go. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We got a new month on What Is Wrong With You and a whole lot more. Plus, your interaction with the program today. I want to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us on our YouTube stream live chat. We are live on YouTube. Every time we are live on the radio, we are also live on video. Our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe if you have yet to do so. We're 60 subscribers shy of 1,000. Who's going to move us closer today? Who is the hero that will move us closer today? Who are the heroes, plural, that'll get us closer today by subscribing to the YouTube channel at 580 Sports Talk? Doesn't cost you anything but a click. And if you watch the show live on YouTube, you can hop in the live chat, interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts as we go along. Again, the name of the live chat is, or the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. The names of those who are in the live chat already. Good to see folks already jumping in today. Tyler, Ryan, and Andrew in. Mark H., I see you. Our friend from Overbrook is in today as well. Always happy to see you. Looking forward to hearing from you all throughout the show here on 580 Sports Talk. But let's get into some football, shall we? Let's get into a little bit of draft talk. We know that the Chiefs, as it stands, have 9 picks in the 2026 NFL draft coming up at the end of this month. Number 9 and number 29 in the first round, number 40 in the second round, number 74 in the third, pick 109 in the fourth round, pick 148 in the fifth, and 3 sixth-round picks, 169, 176, and 210. That is the current set of cards that Brett Veach and the Chiefs front office hold. And we know based on the Chiefs draft history that they are not particularly likely to make all of those picks. They like to use day 3 picks as chips to try and move up. Let's say they end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 picks, because that feels a lot more reasonable than seeing them make 9. How should they parcel those picks out? How would you like to see the Chiefs address the needs that they have with this draft class? They have, going into the draft, 3 positions at which they could certainly stand to come away with a top of the depth chart option. That's edge rusher, wide receiver, and maybe cornerback less so after the addition of Kader Kohou via free agency. But you could still consider cornerback on that list because Noel Williams hasn't yet been a starter and Christian Fulton is maybe still a question mark. Maybe he's a guy that the Chiefs decide if they do draft a cornerback high that they want to move on from his salary and do some cap savings and cut Fulton. So maybe cornerback is still a position at which the Chiefs feel like they need a starter. But there is no getting around the need for a starter, a day one, top of the depth chart. You're playing the bulk of the snaps at this spot, starter at edge. That is non-negotiable. Ashton Gelati, not a starter. Felix Anudike-Uzomah still on the roster, but he is the longest of long shots at this point. You've got George Karlaftis and a question mark on the depth chart right now. At wide receiver, you've got Rashee Rice. You've got Xavier Worthy. How available is Rashee Rice going to be? You've got Tyquan Thornton. Do you feel great about receivers 1, 2, and 3 being healthy, being productive? Is that a position where you could use a top of the depth chart starter? I think it is. Cornerback is also a position where you could upgrade the top of the depth chart talent on the roster. Those are the 3 positions. And I think they're going to check, and I've been consistent on this position. I think the Chiefs are going to check those edge and wide receiver boxes early. I think that 2 of their first 3 picks in the draft, 9, 29, and 40, or, maybe there's a move up or a move back with one of those first 3, with any of those first 3 picks. But with their first 3 picks that are currently in the top 40, I think the Chiefs are going to address edge and wide receiver. I just think it makes too much sense. There is access to a level of talent in the first round and early second at those positions that the Chiefs really haven't been privy to. You don't get to draft guys who are nailed on day one starters at those positions generally when you pick 32nd. Maybe at edge, like certainly George Karlaftis was a late first round pick, and that's worked out really, really nicely. But those 2 positions are the ones for me that I think they're going to check those boxes very early in the draft. Day 1 and early day 2, edge and wide receiver are going to be needs that get met. Cornerback is the fascinating one as far as the Chiefs go, because this is a franchise that even when the opportunity for exceptions presented itself this very offseason, the Chiefs stayed true to their organizational tendency. They have not given a second contract to one of their own drafted defensive backs since Eric Berry. And that's not just corner, that's safety as well. Had a chance to talk extension with Trent McDuffie. He's a Los Angeles Ram now. Had a chance to bring Jalen Watson and Brian Cook back. I don't think either of those players signed at a number that was particularly egregious. I don't think that their contracts that they got, Cook with Cincinnati and Watson with the Rams, were well beyond what you would have expected given the market. And I think those were numbers that perhaps the Chiefs would have been comfortable bringing them back at, but they chose not to do it. It's just not what the Chiefs do. The tendency breaker the last couple of years has been using free agent dollars to bring in cornerbacks, and it's not though that they've spent big. Christian Fulton is not making a lot of money. Kader Kohu is not going to make a lot of money in 2026. But that's been the tendency breaker. The idea that they would spend on other teams' free agents at the cornerback position. Cornerback specifically. Obviously, they've been willing to bring in safeties from outside the organization. They have done that this offseason with Alohi Gilman. They had done that previously to very good effect with the likes of Justin Reed and most prominently Tyrann Mathieu. But cornerback in particular is the spot where the Chiefs so trust their own eye in the scouting department and their own internal development that they have not felt, with the notable exception of Trent McDuffie, that it has been worth early draft capital. Is there another Trent McDuffie on this draft board? The Chiefs will very likely wind up with an opportunity at number 9 overall to select, if they choose, the best cornerback on the board. I don't think Mansour Delane of LSU is going to go in the first 8 picks. He's going to be on the board. And Matt Bowen of ESPN.com wrote today that Delane's skill set is actually a really good fit with what the Chiefs do defensively. Kansas City, writes Bowen, played man coverage on 52% of opponent dropbacks last season, the fourth highest rate in the league. Delane would thrive in those coverages as a press corner with the speed to match vertically. This is an easy fit, Bowen writes, for who I think is the top cornerback in the class. So the Chiefs are going to have that opportunity. If they value the opportunity to draft the best corner on the board, they are going to have the chance to do that in a way they've really never had the chance to do it. Other than McDuffie wasn't the best corner on the board in his draft year, but he was the best on the Chiefs board where they were going to pick, and that's why they moved up to get him. So are the Chiefs going to break a tendency? We keep waiting for them to do it, and they have not yet done it this offseason when it comes to the defensive backfield. Are they going to break tendency and use pick number 9 or move up from 29 or stick at 29? There's a lot of intriguing cornerback prospects that a lot of mock drafts have available at number 29. Colton Hood out of Tennessee, Brandon Cisse, South Carolina, Avion Terrell out of Clemson, who has compared himself in the pre-draft process to a Trent McDuffie-type player. That is, to me, the most interesting decision the Chiefs are going to make. Are they going to draft a defensive back? Of course. They always do. They might draft more than one. They're a little thin at safety still. I wouldn't be shocked to see them take a safety in day 3 or early day 2, or late day 2, rather, if there's someone they really like. Where will they address cornerback? Will they go true to form, late day 2, day 3? Or do they surprise us and go against type and strike for even a guy like Delane at number 9? Other positions where the Chiefs need depth. Defensive tackle. They really need depth at defensive tackle, and they need youth at defensive tackle. Right now, they've got 3 and some question marks, right? They got Chris Jones, they got Kyrus Tonga, they've got Omar Norman-Lott. And both Tonga and Jones are 30+, and Norman-Lott's coming off of the torn ACL. Chiefs need some bodies at defensive tackle. They are definitely taking a DT. I think they will take one on the first 2 days of the draft. I think one of the first 4 picks that they currently hold will be used, whether it's in that slot or earlier or later, on an interior defensive lineman. You also look at the skill positions. Mention wide receiver. Tight end is certainly a spot where right now, who's tight end number 3 for the Chiefs? Is it Jared Wiley? He has not impressed. Is it Jake Brenningstool? I don't know. Running back, the Chiefs look at that position even after the addition of Kenneth Walker and Amari DiMercato. Offensive line. Chiefs like to draft offensive line depth. If they take one, it's going to be day 3. I am not buying an offensive tackle at 9. I'm not buying it at 29. I'm not buying it at 40. I'm not buying it at 74. You want to tell me they take a 5th or a 6th round developmental swing tackle or interior lineman? Absolutely. I can see that. In fact, I think that's pretty likely. But I just don't think day 1, day 2, it's that kind of need, because I think the starters are so locked in for 2026, and I think they feel good about immediate depth. I think they feel good about linemen 6 and 7 and possibly even 8 on their depth chart. So if that's how it shakes out, let's say it's 7 picks. Let's say Brett Veach moves some bodies around and moves some of those picks and moves up, moves down, trades maybe a 6th for a future 6th or something like that. If they end up with 7 picks and they come out of the day, or the 3 days, as it were, with an edge, a wide receiver, 2 defensive backs, let's call it a safety and a corner, a defensive tackle, an offensive lineman, and then one more skill player, either a running back or a tight end. Is that a reasonable allocation of draft resources for the Chiefs? I think it is. But I think that the highest priorities are still clear, because of the unique position the Chiefs find themselves in now with less than a month to go before the draft, of being able to add blue chip, day one starter caliber talent at positions of dire need and of significant impact. This is not just to say, we're not going into a draft talking about, man, the Chiefs are dying for a linebacker, or the Chiefs have a gaping hole at tight end on their depth chart. Like, those are the kinds of needs. Yeah, you fill those in the draft. You can fill those late first round. You can fill those in the second round. Chiefs have done that for years. Nick Bolton, second round pick. Travis Kelce, third round pick. But to go get a pass rusher, to go get a potential number one wide receiver, Chiefs really haven't had that opportunity. They may not ever get it again. They'd like to never be picking number 9 ever again, right? So that's why I think those day one picks are going to be guys who are high value at high value positions that will impact winning for the Chiefs in 2026. I still think it'll be edge, and I still think it'll be wide receiver. And I do think they'll hang back at corner, because that's what the entire draft history of the Chiefs, with one exception, tells me that they'll do. But what say you? I want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 on the text line. You can weigh in on our live chat on YouTube as well, 580 Sports Talk. We're going to take a break. We'll come back, get your reaction, talk about the very real prospect that we are going to be, once again, spending Christmas with the Kansas City Chiefs. Got some thoughts on KU basketball later this hour. Going to talk to Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Some Royals talk, what is wrong with you headlines. It's a jam-packed Wednesday show. Really glad you're along for the ride here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:31 here on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting revved up on this Wednesday with you until 6 o'clock. Royals baseball tonight, 6:40 first pitch. Royals have made a transaction today, made it official just as we were going on the air. Carlos Estevez has been placed on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to March 29th with what they are calling a left foot contusion. Steven Cruz gets the call from AAA Omaha. Pitched well for the Royals last year in a relief role, and I was a little surprised, frankly, he didn't make the opening day roster, but he is back up with the team. Randy Giserli on X, longtime baseball writer, Royals podcaster, Royals fan, wrote, I thought this was an interesting way to put it. The better move would have been to do this a week ago, but sometimes you have to sacrifice a game in March to keep the clubhouse dynamic smooth for the subsequent 7 months. And I actually think that's kind of a fair point, that it's one thing to say, boy, Carlos Estevez didn't look right all spring. He's not throwing hard. He's not throwing strikes. We can't put him out there in a save situation to start the season. And I said it myself. I said on Monday on our bonus show that aired only on 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel that you do a disservice to 25 guys who are ready for the season when you put the game in the hands of one guy who clearly wasn't ready to start the season. But at the same time, while that is true, it may not be like Carlos Estevez. Put it this way. Estevez wasn't unready for 2026 because like he showed up 30 pounds overweight or he showed up out of condition. Just the velocity's not there. And maybe he's reaching back for something he can't find anymore. We don't know, but this will at least give him the opportunity to be on the injured list, to work on things behind the scenes and see if he can't find that fastball and get back to form. Because the Royals are a better team if Estevez finds his form. He wasn't doing anybody any favors out there with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball he was afraid to throw for a strike. But I think Giserli's point is, again, this is a people business. And you go up to Carlos Estevez and you tell him, hey, I know you led the league in saves last year, but based on 4 spring training outings, I don't trust you anymore. So either, phantom IL or you take a hike. We're gonna pitch you in the 5th inning of games we're losing by 10 until you get your arm right. Not a great relationship salvager with a guy who's an important part of your clubhouse. So you handled it the way sometimes you have to handle it in a human business, and it did. It cost the Royals a game. And in what I expect to be a tight AL Central race with the Tigers, that might be a game they wish they had not thrown away in September. But for now, you gave him the opportunity to fail, and he failed so spectacularly that you were left with no other choice but to do this obvious thing in response. Anyhow, I wanted to bring this up from Nate Taylor at ESPN.com today. Owners' meetings going on in the NFL this week. Nate Taylor had this note in a Around the League notes column over at ESPN.com today. The Chiefs are hoping to be showcased on Christmas Day for the 4th straight year. Team owner Clark Hunt and President Mark Donovan anticipate that the Chiefs will be a part of several marquee matchups, whether on a holiday or in prime time. They know the Chiefs' reputation with the Hope quarterback Patrick Mahomes returns to form grows from creating a new tradition on the NFL schedule, similar to the Cowboys and Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Here's the quote from team president Mark Donovan. We'd love to play on Christmas. It's a unique position from a marketing and brand standpoint. When you think about the movie that we did, our Foolish Club studio business, and the opportunity to really continue to cement our ownership of Christmas as a holiday, emphasis mine, our brand with that is really powerful. We respect that the league wants to spread it around. We get it. Right now, we expect to be in a lot of primetime games. We've made it pretty clear that our preference is to play at home on Christmas. The audacity to say out loud the opportunity to continue to cement our ownership of Christmas? I have to imagine there are going to be some pastors, some priests, some men of the cloth who are going to have a field day with that quote. My position on this is clear. I do not like being asked to give part of my Christmas to football. I don't like it. I don't care for it. I have not watched a snap of NFL football on Christmas Day the last 3 years that has not included the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I've watched every snap that has included the Chiefs because that's my job, right? Because I'm going to turn the mic hot either the day after or the next time we have a show. We're going to talk all about it. And I'm delinquent in my duty as a member of the media that covers the Kansas City Chiefs if I skip out on a Chiefs game out of some sort of moral or religious high ground. I can't do it. I got to do what I got to do. I don't have to like it. And I don't. I would rather Christmas be a day that I do not have the intrusion of the National Football League. That I do not necessarily need the intrusion of the NBA on Christmas Day. The NBA at least is background noise. You turn that game on, it's 1 of 82. Like, do you really get wrapped up in a Christmas Day game? I mean, the NBA owned that holiday for years. Again, there's that term again, owning Christmas. But that's easy enough to just have on as background noise. NFL really doesn't work like that. That's not how we consume the NFL. Every game is important in the NFL. You miss one, you miss it, you miss a lot. It's that scarcity of the product. And again, from my perspective, as somebody who covers the Kansas City Chiefs, I got to watch that game. I might not want to. I might rather spend that time with my son will be 2 this Christmas, 2.5. I might rather spend that time with him, extended family, enjoying the reason for the season, if you will, enjoying my son's Christmas gifts. And I got to tell him, hey, bud, I'll see you in 3.5 hours. Chiefs are on. Like, hopefully they give him a night game. If they do play again, give him the night game again. That at least, like, you got to do everything, the presents and church and family lunch, dinner, whatever, and then the game at night. Like, I could live with that. They give him if the Chiefs on Christmas night is a thing, I guess I can live with it. But not my favorite thing in the world. And it's just very funny, the idea that we, the Kansas City Chiefs, own Christmas. Again, I don't know if I've got any men of the cloth who listen to this program, but have fun with that one on a Sunday in the near future. We'll take a break. When we come back, no news, I think, is news when it comes to Kansas basketball. I'll tell you what I mean next on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in hour number 2. Brendan Dworzinski's off today. Anybody catch the McDonald's All-America game last night? I watched bits and pieces. Mostly caught up with the highlights. Taylor Kinney, future Kansas Jayhawk. 5 points, 2 of 8 from the field. Had a nice dunk. Made a difficult step-back 3 over a 7-footer for his only points of the night. A little small, Kinney, at 6'1". He's quick. He's got long arms, so they say he plays bigger. A little small at 6'1". Coming to a college game that is trending bigger, particularly in the post. But, you see the vision. You understand why he's a second-rate point guard in the class. He's quick. He's a better shooter than he showed in an all-star game setting. Tyron Stokes also played in the game, and his commitment remains a mystery. There's a lot of belief that Kansas can get him, even though Stokes has a previously existing relationship with Nike. And Kansas, quite notably, is an Adidas school, is the Adidas school. So that's quite a gap to bridge. And I don't know, and we talked to Michael Swain about this yesterday. If you missed that, it was on yesterday's show. Our guy, Michael Swain of Fog.net for Jayhawk Weekly. I don't know how you bridge that gap, but everybody got a price. But, of course, the big lingering question over Kansas basketball is who's going to coach him in 2026-27. And the closer we get to the opening of the transfer portal and effectively the start of Cruton season for transfers, the more it becomes a feeling that Bill Self isn't going anywhere. It's not like they have to announce a contract extension, and certainly Bill Self is under no obligation to release a press release saying, in effect, like Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not leaving. It's funny. You see that clip, you see that gif, I'm not leaving. I'm leaving out a word that I can't say on the radio from that clip. You guys, if you've seen the movie, you know what it is. But you see that clip that floats around. And the funniest thing about how that gets used by people who are like excited. Like, I'm staying. I'm coming back for another year. I'm re-signing. I'm signing an extension. I'm not leaving. Like, if you watch the movie, it's not a good thing. It's not a good decision that Jordan Belfort, the character, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, is making to stay. He's not making a good decision. He's just very excitable when he makes it. And I understand how it got memed, but it's just funny how, you watch the movie in context. That's not really like a good decision that Jordan Belfort is making. Anyhow, Bill Self doesn't look like he's going anywhere. Long and the short of it, he's coming back. I think that, again, I don't say this with insider info, and maybe something changes in the next 24 hours. Who can say? But it certainly feels as though there is not going to be a leadership change with Kansas basketball. If it were to happen at this stage, it would make things very difficult on Kansas from a roster retention perspective, from a transfer portal perspective, and certainly from a recruiting class perspective. Because not only are you trying to get Stokes, you want to keep the 4 players who are committed to the class that have made it a consensus top 5 recruiting class. So the further along we get without any news, it feels like the absence of news is in fact news, is in fact confirmation that Bill Self will coach the Kansas Jayhawks in 2026 and 2027. And in that moment where it felt like maybe that wasn't going to be the case, because there were signs throughout the year that seemed to nod towards the idea of 2025-26 being Bill's last ride. And now that it feels like that is not going to be the case, well, there were a lot of things that lined up for the 2025-26 season to have been the Hollywood ending kind of last ride that KU basketball would want to give Bill Self. Things didn't work out. Darren Peterson didn't stay healthy, never got in a rhythm. Team never really got in a rhythm. Lost the buzzer in the second round of the tournament. So let's say they take one more run at a quote-unquote Hollywood ending for Bill Self in the 2026-27 season. any thought of that includes Stokes on the roster. I cannot imagine what the bag is going to look like to get a Nike kid to an Adidas school. But everybody's got a price. I believe it was Ted DiBiase who said it best. Every man's got a price. And if Kansas has the resources to bring Stokes and bring Taylor Kinney and the rest of that recruiting class that already looks pretty solid, and then shore up the rest of the roster, are there enough resources? Is there enough NIL money to maybe convince Flory Badunga that his junior year would be better spent in Lawrence than on a two-way contract in the NBA? I don't think that's out of the question. And then the rest of the lineup at that point, like envisioning a lineup that you're building around Kinney at point, Stokes at either the 3 or the 4, and Flory at the 5, you just go in the portal, you're looking for shooters. Did you shoot 40% from 3? Great. Here's an offer. Here's a blank check. Because I think those 3 surrounded by shooting, it would be a pretty good lineup. Be a pretty good lineup, depending again on who do you keep for depth, like who else returns to the program. Does Elmarco Jackson return? Jamari McDowell, Paul Mbia, Cole Rosario, and guys who could return, who have some skills. But that has to be the vision for how you send Bill Self out on a high note. How do you get a Kansas team back to a Final Four level, a championship level? Well, they can't shoot 34 freaking percent from three-point range. This is 2026. You have to score the ball from behind the arc. You have to stretch defenses and pressure them in that way. And Kansas's teams since the championship team, and to be clear, that championship team was just good enough at shooting the 3. Okay, they were by no means elite. They were a 36% three-point shooting team. But the 4 teams since then have not even gotten to that benchmark. Can you shoot the 3 well enough to give your lightning quick, smallish point guard room to operate, room to get downhill, room for Tyron Stokes, who's 6'7" and built like a tank, to get downhill and impose his will on games? Because Stokes kind of an iffy shooter too, truth be told. It's not quite like Josh Jackson, where the jumper's obviously busted, but he could make it shake. Like, it's not that with Stokes. It's just like this could go one of 2 ways with him. Like, either it could get a lot better, or if it stagnates, then he's just kind of an average three-point shooter. And Kansas needs more guys who are better than average shooting the 3. That's priority 1, 2, and 3 going into the transfer portal. Find some guys who can shoot it. And hopefully they defend well enough, because this is the other part of it. Hopefully they can hold their water well enough on the defensive end that Bill Self will play him. Because Jaden Dawson couldn't, and so Bill Self didn't. And Cole Rosario wasn't quite ready for that responsibility. So we never really got to see his potential shooting chops in the 2025-26 season. But again, the absence of an announcement at this point, I think you can take to mean that there's not going to be a leadership change. And the things now that are being discussed behind the scenes, that are being, that we're not privy to, probably have a lot less to do with, well, is the big guy coming back? Is Bill Self going to be back on the sideline too? All right, how do we make this roster better? How do we get better? Because last year's like the 2025-26 roster was, I think, the best constructed Kansas roster since the 23 team that I think would have made a deeper tournament run if Self hadn't had the heart issue and missed the tournament that year. It was the best constructed roster in 3 years, conceptually speaking. How can you make it even better? Well, go get the best high school player in the country. Job one. Make it happen. Whatever that number before that that first comma, that first of 2 commas before the decimal point, whatever that number has to be, make it so. and go from there. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour of the program right after this. .354 on 580 Sports Talk. We were talking about Kansas basketball in the last segment, and got a text yesterday. I don't know. We must have had some problems with texts getting through on yesterday's show. They're coming through today just fine. If you want to text the program, 785-272-9429 is the number, 785-272-9429. We had a texter from the 785 asked if we were going to, when we had Michael Swain on the program, discuss Darren Peterson's future. Isn't he contemplating a return? Asks the texter. And my response to the texter and their well-intentioned question is, come on, man. Come on. Darren Peterson got about as much chance playing another game in Kansas as I have playing a game for Bill Self's Kansas Jayhawks in 2026-27. That is not happening. That is not happening. You could take that to the bank. You could take that to the blood bank. That is not happening. I know, you get caught up in the emotion of the moment after a frustrating NCAA tournament loss, and you don't like that people are assuming they know everything about your future. And Darren Peterson said something kind of nebulous about, don't assume this was my last game at Kansas or anything like that. There is not enough NIL money in all of the Sunflower State, in all the Kansas alumni base. Well, maybe there is. David Booth got pretty deep pockets. But you know who else got pretty deep pockets? The National Basketball Association. Darren Peterson's going to go make a lot of money playing in the NBA next year. He's going to be, at worst, the number 3 overall pick in the NBA draft. And again, that is at absolute worst. Those guys get paid pretty well. Those guys get paid above and beyond what any NIL money has ever looked like to date. I don't think KU is going to pony up NBA money. So, yeah, Darren Peterson's not coming back. That's not even really entertain the thought is what I would say on that. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we talked a little KU this hour. We're going to talk some K-State, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour with Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com. It's the Tall Grass Windows and Doors Wildcat Wrap-Up. Going to get Fitz's impressions as spring practice continues for K-State football, and also his thoughts on how K-State men's basketball is going about building out their coaching staff and building out their roster with a couple of high school commitments already pledged to Casey Alexander's program. We'll also have What Is Wrong With You, our first What Is Wrong With You of the new month. We have vetted both of these stories. They are not April Fool's gags. These are, as always, real stories of real people doing real dumb stuff. So that's coming up on What Is Wrong With You. But we'll open the 4 o'clock hour with Mock Draft Wednesday. We got a couple of 7-round mock drafts we're going to look at, see how the Chiefs might allocate all of their, for now, 9 draft picks. And the trend continues from national writers thinking that the Chiefs would be happy to draft a right tackle with the 9th overall pick in the draft. It's driving me crazy. It's probably driving you crazy too. Hang with me. We got another hour. 580 Sports Talk coming up. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this hump day. My name is Dan Lucero. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And on our video streaming channels, we are at 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We are WIBW News on Facebook. Thanks for hanging out. We're with you until 6 o'clock, at which point we hope there will be baseball at Kauffman Stadium tonight. We are still planning to throw it on out to the Royals Baseball Network right at 6 o'clock for pregame coverage. First pitch tonight at the K, 6:40. Royals going for their first series win of the season, looking to get over 500 for the first time this season, looking for their first winning streak of the season. And they've got Noah Cameron making his debut this year on the mound. Here's bad news for the Royals. The opposing pitcher is Joe Ryan. Why is that bad news? Well, if you follow the Royals, you know Joe Ryan has as much a ownership stake in that club as Patrick Mahomes. He has dominated the Royals in his career. Although the last time the Royals got a hold of Joe Ryan, they knocked him out of the game in 2 innings, scoring 5 runs on 4 hits and 4 walks in a win back on September 6th in Kansas City last year. The outings prior to that had been, again, just total domination for Ryan against the Royals. He's really good. Like he's good against a lot of teams. It's not that he's just good against the Royals. His first start of the season, he went 5 1/3 innings of 1 hit ball, didn't allow a run, and struck out 7. So Joe Ryan's excellent. And he just happens to have exceptional career numbers against the Royals. But last time the Royals saw him, they tuned him a little bit. That was the 3rd time they'd seen him in 2025, and I guess they were ready for him. So they'll hope to continue that trend. Again, the Royals throwing Noah Cameron. Interesting to note that Minnesota taking advantage of a pair of early off days, able to skip the 5th starter in their rotation and go to Ryan for a second start in his team's first 5 games. The Royals choosing not to skip Cameron the first time through. And I think the reason for that is pretty clear. The Royals play, or are scheduled to play, again, weather permitting, today and through the weekend at the K. The Royals are scheduled to play 12 games in the next 12 days. So that's a long stretch for early in the season. A lot of teams will get, 2 or 3 off days in the really early portion of the campaign. The Royals got their off day the day before they started their season. They didn't play on the Thursday almost everybody else played. So they only get 1 off day in their first 15, 16 days. They play 16 of the first 17 days of the season for the Royals they play. So that's why they didn't want to jump a 5th starter and go right back to Cole Reagans' start in this rotation. You add to the fact that they're going to be kind of gentle, I think, in the early going with Reagans and Bubic in particular, given the injuries they're coming off of. So I understand why what has been done got done. But it is Joe Ryan and Noah Cameron, the scheduled starting pitchers tonight. Again, first pitch scheduled for 6:40, and you can catch it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. But we got 2 more hours of sports talk to enjoy with you today. Got Mock Draft Wednesday this hour. Every Wednesday on the show up until the NFL draft, we're combing through the latest mock drafts that live out there on the internet. And we've got 2 today to look at that are 7-round mock drafts, 1 from a national source and 1 from a Kansas City source. So we'll get into those. We've also got our first round of What Is Wrong With You for the month. In case you missed it, the urinator in the incinerator is the March champion on What Is Wrong With You. We crowned the monthly champion on yesterday's show. And at the bottom of this hour, Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com will join us for the Tall Grass Windows and Doors Wildcat Wrap-Up. We'll talk all things K-State with Fitz. You can text the program, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429, the text line number. You can also interact with the program if you are watching along on YouTube today. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Jump in the live chat if you're logged in. Say hello. Interact with your fellow listeners as we go along. Mock Draft Wednesday. I don't have my sounder. That's a bad job by me. I do not have the NFL draft sounder queued up for the segment this week. It's just me running the show, so that's why. But we've got 2 7-round mock drafts that wanted to dissect today. The first one is from Matt Miller of ESPN.com. He put out a 7-round mock draft on Monday of this week. So instead of just looking at a first-round pick or the 2 first-round picks or the first 2 rounds, we've got 9 selections here for the Chiefs. And Matt Miller opens the account for the Chiefs at the 9th pick, taking Ruben Bain, the edge, out of Miami. For the context behind that pick, David Bailey would have gone off the board 1 pick earlier to the Saints. Mansour Delane would be off the board at 7 to the Commanders. Carnell Tate would be off the board in this mock draft. He is, according to Miller, going at number 6 to the Browns. Mekhi Levin, Spencer Fano still on the board at number 9, but the Chiefs selecting in that mock draft Ruben Bain. And Miller making the same point that we have made repeatedly through this process. The Chiefs don't normally get a chance to pick this high, so this is a rare opportunity to grab a blue chip prospect at a high value position. With the number 29 first round pick that the Chiefs have, Miller has the Chiefs selecting Avion Terrell out of Clemson. The younger brother of Falcons quarterback A.J. Terrell Jr. is similar to McDuffie in his ability to play inside or outside. He had 3 interceptions while allowing only 4.4 yards per attempt when targeted by opposing quarterbacks. I think it is irresistible for national writers to consider Terrell a fit for the Chiefs at 29 for 3 reasons. Number 1, Chiefs have a need at corner. Number 2, that need was created in the trade that netted the Chiefs the number 29 pick because that's what they got from the Rams in exchange for McDuffie. And number 3, specifically to Terrell, he is a prospect who has said that McDuffie is the player that he feels like he is most similar to. Listen, man, if I were coming into the draft, I would want to compare myself to an all-pro as well. That is exactly the kind of player I would say that I play just like. I wouldn't want to answer that question and say, yeah, actually, the guy I play like is like the 4th stringer on the Titans. Like you that's not how you want to answer that question. But anyway, Terrell feels like a really irresistible mock draft fit. Did the Chiefs like him the same way? Not sure, but we don't know if the Chiefs are going to bring him in for a 30 or anything like that. But Avion Terrell, 29th in Matt Miller's ESPN mock draft. With the 40th pick overall in the 2nd round, a wide receiver we really haven't gotten to talk about much. Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama is the selection in Matt Miller's mock draft. And Miller writes, Bernard would, at a minimum, be a capable wide receiver number 3 with the upside to grow into a frontline starter in the slot. His yards after catch ability and versatility to play across formation should appeal to Andy Reid's creativity. And I will tell you that I read that in Miller's mock draft and I rolled my eyes. Because what do I keep saying about the Chiefs? They've got a bunch of wide receivers who are all the same guy, the same build, the same skill set. It's just repetitive. And it has, I think, stunted the growth of the Chiefs' passing game over the years. And maybe even stunted the growth in some ways of Patrick Mahomes and his growth and maturity as he plays in his prime years. But then I read today at ESPN.com, Ben Solak listed his favorite prospects to watch. Not necessarily the best prospects at each position, but his favorite prospects to watch at each position. This is what he said about Jeremy Bernard. Bernard's athleticism does not jump off the field. He isn't leaving corners in the dust or dropping highlight reel jukes, but he does everything well, and I mean everything. Bernard will dig out a linebacker to spring a handoff on one play, stretch a safety to open another route on the next play, grind out some tough yak on an RPO on another play, and then cut up a mean route to separate downfield on the next play. For teams that want to field three receivers, Solak writes later, Bernard's dirty work will maximize the wideouts who are in the roles of wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. Because he has good hands and runs good routes, he can still punish defenses who forget about him. The comparisons he makes are to Juwan Jennings for the 49ers and Jacoby Myers, currently with Jacksonville. And that got me thinking, that description, what does that sound like? The idea that his dirty work maximizes the other wideouts who are on the field. Does that sound like how the Chiefs viewed Juju Smith-Schuster in his tenure with the team? When we have had the pleasure of having voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, on the program, the term he has used, the description for Juju Smith-Schuster that he has used over time has been the door hinge. He's the door hinge of the offense. He can open up things for other players with his route running, with his blocking, and with his own abilities. Jeremy Bernard sounds like that kind of wide receiver. And maybe he's a younger version, a more productive version of Juju that would fit the kinds of skills that the Chiefs value at wide receiver. Now, do I still think the Chiefs need a bigger wide receiver? Yes. But do I understand better the fit of a guy like Jeremy Bernard with that kind of skill set at number 40 overall? I do. You can make that make sense to me. Miller's 7-round mock continues with the 74th overall pick in the 3rd round. Dominic Orange, the defensive tackle out of Iowa State. That would be a fun one because he's a KC Mo kid. Also, he popped up in Ben Solak's piece today as his favorite defensive tackle prospect to watch. Solak writes, Orange simply walks opposing centers back into the quarterback's lap. He has great blend of explosive upper body power to shock an opponent off his base and rolling lower body power to prevent the blocker from recovering. Iowa State played a 3-man front that asked Orange to eat space and do little else. As such, he has worryingly low production for a multi-year starter. No matter, his role in the NFL will be much different than his role at Iowa State. I'm taking the risk on his movement skills at his size. Chiefs need a young space eater at defensive tackle. If you think about the defensive tackle group this way, you have the veteran pass rusher in Chris Jones, and you have the young pass rusher, the protege, in Omar Norman-Lott. You've got the veteran space eater in Kairos Tonga, who is 30. And would it make some sense to add a protege at space-eating defensive tackle in Dominic Orange if you get him at 74? Yes, it would. I like that pick a lot. This is not the first multi-round mock draft where I've seen the Chiefs tied to Dominic Orange. I really, really like that fit. And I really think his addition would give the Chiefs a well-rounded set of 4 defensive tackles that they could roll into 2026. Other picks, we'll run through the day 3 picks here in Matt Miller's 7-round Chiefs mock draft on this mock draft Wednesday. 109th pick of the 4th round, Georgia tight end Oscar Delp, who tested off the charts athletically at the combine. 6'5", doesn't have long arms, but has good hands. I could see him being tight end number 3 right out of the gate. Like, I do think the Chiefs need to upgrade it. Tight end 3. We've seen them run 3 tight end sets to really good effect. They don't have a trustworthy tight end number 3 right now. I don't think Jared Wiley is that guy. I think if he were that guy, he'd already be that guy. So I could certainly see a tight end addition for the Chiefs with that 3rd or that 4th round pick. 5th round pick, 148 overall, Boston College offensive tackle Jude Bowery. That's about where a project at offensive line would make some sense for the Chiefs. And then the 6th round picks, 2 defensive backs, 169 overall, North Carolina cornerback Marcus Allen. No relation, I don't think. 176 pick overall, Ohio State safety Lorenzo Styles. I would not be upset about taking a late round flyer on a guy from an elite Power 5 defense. And with the 210th pick, the final pick the Chiefs have in the 6th round, South Carolina running back Rasul Faison. I can't tell you I know a lot about him, but again, feels like late round would be an opportunity for the Chiefs to try and add a little speed and really just take a flyer on a skill position guy like a running back or a wide receiver. So that's Matt Miller's mock draft, 7-round mock. Sam McDowell and Pete Sweeney of the Kansas City Star, who obviously cover the Chiefs more intimately, have their own 7-round mock draft in the Star. Saw this online today. They don't give you the rest of the draft. So you don't have the full context of, okay, who's not on the board available when the Chiefs make this pick. But they have the Chiefs at number 9 taking Carnell Tate, the big body wide receiver out of Ohio State, who we've talked about quite a bit. At 29th overall, TJ Parker, the edge out of Clemson, is the selection. And again, like I've said, I think the Chiefs do need to address the edge rusher position. Parker's a player who has that kind of feel as a late first or second round pick. 463, but that's close to the kind of size that Spags likes on the outside. And one of the first things that NFL analyst Lance Zierlein writes about him at NFL.com is that he strikes early to set very firm edges. And Steve Spagnuolo loves him an edge setter. But that's not all he can do. He did have 11 sacks and 19 and a half tackles for a loss in 2024. He put up big numbers that year. Numbers weren't as big in 2025, but the abilities are pretty clear on tape for the last 2 years from TJ Parker. So that's the 29th pick in the Kansas City Star 7-round mock. At number 40 in the 2nd round, South Carolina cornerback Brandon Cisse, a little bit more unpolished than a lot of the other defensive back prospects that you see late first, early 2nd round that the Chiefs would be connected to. The more I think about it, the more I don't think that would necessarily fit the Chiefs' MO. Like if they're going to take a project, I don't think they take one that high. But I like the athleticism is no doubt there for Cisse. 74th pick, an interior defensive lineman, Grayson Halton, defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. 109th pick of the 4th round, Texas A&M tackle Demetrius Crownover. 5th round pick, 148th overall, a familiar one for UK State fans, VJ Payne, safety out of K-State. I think he's going to be a good value 5th round pick for somebody. I think the athleticism is real. I think that there have been a couple of K-State defensive backs who maybe can benefit from NFL coaching. That will be how I will put it. I think they could benefit from receiving NFL coaching because I think the skills are there and I think the athleticism is there. I think for VJ Payne, I think that he could potentially impact the way that Marcus Siegel impacted the 49ers defense. So I like Payne as a 5th round player. I actually like that a lot. And then the 6th round picks in the Kansas City Star mock draft, 169 overall, running back Kalen Black out of Indiana. 176 overall. This is a famous name. This is a name, if you follow college football, you remember this dude being maybe the next big thing as a freshman, and then injuries and lack of production really kind of stalled him out. But Harold Perkins, linebacker out of LSU, that feels like a Veach pick. We know, and I mean that in a complimentary fashion. We know that Brett Veach has not been shy about taking flyers on high draft picks that didn't work out. You take a chance on the talent or the athleticism or the ability that got them drafted in the first round in the first place. With Perkins, you'd be trusting that there's some ability that's still there, that got him to be, the big deal recruit and the freshman All-American that he was before he tore his ACL. Wouldn't hate that at all. And then at 210, Eli Heidenreich, who's listed as a slot at Navy because, well, they run that flex bone. Eli Heidenreich was a really good player at Navy. That'd be a fun 6th-round pick. Certainly a guy that I think fans would root for. Pitting those two drafts together, though, I have to say my lean is Matt Miller's draft. Again, and having the context that you get because Miller's is a full 32-team, 7-round mock, that probably helps. But I think if what I believe to be true is that the Chiefs are going to address wide receiver and edge with 2 of their first 3 picks, I think I like Bain at 9 and Bernard at 40 better than I like Tate at 9 and Parker at 29. Because I'm just not 100% sure how much pass rush juice Parker has. I think the Chiefs need a guy who's going to get to the quarterback. And Ruben Bain is going to do that. He's going to do that. So I like that combination in Miller's draft. I also like Orange better than I like Halton as a prospect. I think Orange is a little bit better fit athletically for what the Chiefs want to do. And I like the fact that Miller's draft gives them a tight end because I do think the Chiefs could stand to draft a tight end. I would like to see them come away with a tight end in this draft. But I will say that I love the VJ Payne pick. I think that's my favorite day 3 pick of any of the of either of those 7-round mocks. I was going to do some others today. Bruce Feldman for The Athletic has one. Lance Zierlein, I mentioned him at NFL.com. He put one out today as well. Both of them have the Chiefs taking Spencer Fano out of Utah at number 9 overall. And like the more you see it from the national types, the more you think, man, could there be something to this? But then you never see it from the star. You never hear it from Nate Taylor. You don't hear it from Jesse Newell. You're not hearing it from Matt Derrick. You're not hearing it from the people who cover the team day in, day out. I would trust that perspective on whether or not the Chiefs would really draft a tackle in the first round, more so than I would trust the perspective of a national writer, even one as well regarded as Bruce Feldman and Lance Zierlein. But that's it. That's your mock draft Wednesday for this April Fool's Day. And once again, every one of those mock drafts, I gave them to you straight. We're not doing April Fool's pranks on this show today. It's not how we get down on 580 Sports Talk. You know what we do? We do What Is Wrong With You. And we're doing that next after this break here on 580 WIBW. It is What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. It's a new month, so 2 new stories competing today. And again, we have vetted both of these stories. They really did happen. These are not April Fool's jokes stories on What Is Wrong With You. Spencer Dupuis joins us. Hi, Spencer.
Hello, I am here. I am, in fact, alive and working.
Good. We're
just
glad,
busy with that.
We're glad to hear that you are both alive and working. All right. We're going to give you the nod today. Again, if you missed, this is a new month. Last month, our champion for the month was the urinator in the incinerator. So now we have 3 monthly champions. We got that guy. We got the teacher doing blow in her classroom. And we've got the mail truck driver ran over a 10-year-old because he thought he was a porch pirate. Those are our 3 monthly champions. It's already going to be a hotly contested tournament of failed champions when we come around in December. Yeah. It's been quite a start to the year on What Is Wrong With You. Anyway, new month, 2 new stories. And Spencer, I'm going to let you hit lead off.
Yeah, we're going to go to Kentucky. The driver, Kentucky cops say, had just left the liquor store, smelled of alcohol, and was found partially slumped over in the controls of his vehicle. Except it wasn't a vehicle. Jorge Hernandez, 48, was arrested for galloping under the influence, GUI, through a residential neighborhood in Bowling Green.
Nah, that can't be what it's called.
Yes. He was riding a horse through a neighborhood because he probably thought he could get away with not driving a vehicle. According to the arrest report, an officer spotted the sagging Hernandez atop of a horse around 6 p.m. on Thursday. When Hernandez began to ride on the sidewalks, cops performed a traffic stop. You can see him in this picture here. He definitely looks like he was drunk. You can totally tell he was drunk. He reportedly smelled of alcohol, had bloodshot eyes, and slurred his speech. He told police he had just left the liquor store and was returning home. Tied to the horse's saddle was a liquor store bag. So they could confirm that he, in fact, was at the liquor store. After performing a series of field sobriety tests, Hernandez was arrested for operating a non-motor vehicle under the influence of intoxicants. After being booked into county jail, he was released to the custody of federal agents due to an immigration warrant.
I love this detail at the end that in the arrest report, his vehicle's make and model is listed as other. The only way it could be better if it was listed as horse.
Yes.
If they'd written a horse. The vehicle's year is listed as 2024. Yeah, it's a 2024 horse.
How do we know the year?
Make horse. Model horse. Palomino. Like I don't know what kinds of horse, like the breeds of horse. I got Palomino for you.
Imagine if they asked him to identify the kind of horse it was while he was drunk.
I hope it does not say who took custody of the horse after the arrest. I hope the horse is okay. Hope the horse was returned safely to whence it came. But yeah, he thought he had a loophole, didn't he? He's like, yeah, I'm hammered. I got places to be. But you know who's not
back
drunk?
To the liquor store to get more drunk.
Yeah, you know who's not drunk? This horse. Hi-yo, Silver. Anyway, for my story today, we go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, where we meet a man who is accused of lewd contact at a local Hobby Lobby store. David Sewell is charged with hobbying on his lobby in front of an employee in January in Fort Wayne. Earlier this month, the employee identified Sewell during a photo array. She said a man came into the store the day of the incident, followed her for about 4 hours, and began to expose himself in front of her while she was in one of the aisles. And after she turned to walk away, he ran out of the store. There were other incidents of a male entering local Hobby Lobby stores, plural. They got multiple Hobby Lobbies.
Wow.
I didn't know Fort Wayne was hopping like that, had multiple Hobby Lobbies. And performing sexual conduct. Police say security footage showed Sewell walking into the stores. Buddy, that is not the kind of hobby that they are referring to in the title of the store. She hobby on my lobby until I arts and craft. Is that anything? Is that no? That's no. Let's pick a winner today. I got to go with the galloping under the influence.
Yeah, I
to the liquor store.
Like yours is just kind of disgusting.
Yeah. There's not much to mine. He just
pulling lewd acts in the Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, not much to that story. This guy was drunk on a horse. 6 p.m. on a Thursday. Got to restock. then I know better than to drive.
Yeah.
But my trusty steed, who they don't breathalyze horses, do they?
I don't think so.
My trusty steed will get me where I need to go. Yep, galloping under the influence. That's going to be our first winner for the month of April on What Is Wrong With You. Spencer, we'll see you in the 5 o'clock hour, maybe, hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you when we talk to you. And we'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com next for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Fitz, spring practice is in full swing for the Kansas State Wildcats. What is one thing that has stood out to you about the start of Colin Klein's first camp in charge?
Interesting. One thing that stood out to me, I think they did a better job in the portal maybe than what we appreciated, looking at the entire roster, kind of seeing the whole portal picture that fits into the team. I think they found a lot of answers out there.
Where in particular do you think that they might have done a little bit better work in the portal than maybe we gave them credit for in the offseason?
On the defensive side of the ball, particularly. Also running back. I think they did a lot of damage there, bringing in some competition for Joe Jackson. I think they're going to be really good at running back. But, yeah, defensively, they need a lot of help on the line. It's impossible to know from one open practice if any of that worked because we didn't even really see much of the defense. They weren't working on very much at all when we were there. But, you know, of the 14 players they had listed at end or tackle heading into spring, 6 were portal. So they better work out or this team isn't going to work out, I guess you could say.
Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, joining us. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors on 580 Sports Talk. Yeah, so much depends on the offensive line, really, Fitz. We've seen the last couple of years, like some high hopes for offensive lines that maybe haven't turned out the way that maybe was anticipated. And there were reasons that were within Kansas State's control, or maybe not within Kansas State's control, that might have been the case. And going into this spring, they're a little bit shorthanded. They're down some guys. They're still trying to get George Fitzpatrick all the way back after his health episode that cost him the entire 2025 season. But is there, at least you feel like, maybe a little bit more competition for some of those roles, healthier competition that could, at the very least, produce some more quality depth and maybe a more solid foundation for that group up front?
Yeah. There's a lot of concern about the tackle spot. They have major injuries at tackle, so they're not getting a very good look at their frontline guy, most notably John Pastore being out this spring. And hopefully he's good to go. So is Gus Hawkins, another guy that played a lot of tackle for K-State. So it's good that Fitzpatrick is back in practice. It leads to a lot of hope. If all those guys can come back and be healthy in the fall, I think they're going to be okay. I think it's going to be a good offensive line. But if you're bad at tackle, you're going to have some issues. So that is an area that certainly needs to be sorted out. Maybe they'll find some guys here in the spring when they have an opportunity to play tackle that they feel like will offer them some quality depth and maybe even a starter.
Sounds like Colin Klein wants to run a lot of padded practices during the allotted spring football time. What do you make of that decision by a young first-time head coach to make the decision, maybe more so than other programs might like to or want to in the spring, to say, hey, we're going to put the pads on, we're going to go hit?
I love it. I got to be real honest. I absolutely love it. I think he's trying to set an attitude. Coach Snyder didn't hold back in spring. They got after each other. It was pretty common to have a lot of injuries coming out of spring, but not major injuries that required, missing time. It was a lot of wear and tear injuries that guys would get back and hopefully be healthy for the fall. I think he's going to try to do that. Now, will he do that every year? I don't think so. I think he's trying to establish something, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, about greater effort and physicality. And they're going to take that out on each other here I think yesterday was the first padded practice, and 12 of the 15 spring practices are intended to be full pad, full contact. We didn't see any of that contact in the open media part. They saved that for later. Probably a wise move. I'm looking forward to see a team that does play physical brand of football, because I don't think K-State, the last few years at least, was as physical as fans would prefer.
And Colin Klein spoke to this a little bit in his first spring football press conference, and I'm sure other coaches will speak to it as things go along. But the idea of leadership, veteran leadership on this team, and obviously offensively, you turn to Avery Johnson, your senior starting quarterback, as somebody who is going to assume a lot of that leadership responsibility. The defense, maybe at least on paper, doesn't necessarily have an Avery Johnson, a 3-year starter at a senior with that sort of gravitas necessarily coming back. Who needs to emerge as the leaders on that side of the ball for the Chiefs, or for the Kansas State Wildcats?
On the offensive side?
Or the defensive side? Defensive side, yes.
It's a great question. It really is. I'm not sure. I mean, you lose your heart and soul at linebacker. I have a feeling that some young guys will step up. But boy, it's a great question, and one that deserves to be asked by a reporter named Tim Fitzgerald at a press conference, because I don't know the answer to that. It is they got hollowed out on defense pretty good by the portal, so they're bringing in not a lot of new dudes. And one of the great things about bringing in a bunch of players is you find out a lot about them very quickly, and natural leaders will step up. But I will check on that. That's a great question.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald, publisher at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us as he does every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. A couple more off-the-field notes to get to with K-State football. First, what looks like a solid win on the recruiting trail. Julian Elzy, safety out of the state of Georgia, pledging to K-State football earlier this week. Perhaps a good early sign for Colin Klein and his staff. They go down south and go win a tough recruiting battle.
Significant recruiting battle. A lot of offers, SEC offers included. So that shows that they're able to recruit at a very high level. I think this is probably a better player than what K-State normally gets on the recruiting trail. Now you got to hang on to him because that pressure will come. And if you run into some problems with your season, who knows? You'll get recruited against quite a bit. We'll see. We'll see if they can hang on to him, but I think it's a really hopeful sign that these dudes can sell K-State. They're confident, and recruits want to come play for them. And if you build that kind of head of steam, that momentum, you can really put together an amazing class. And I think the staff is capable of doing something in recruiting that we haven't seen in a while.
Additionally, we saw Chris Kleiman back at the football complex and enjoying some time on the field with the new head coach, Colin Klein. Do you know anything about how that came about? And for lack of a better way to put it, how nice was it to see Coach Kleiman back around the team?
Yeah, and having fun. You know what I mean? He looked like he was just having a blast being at practice and not being in charge. Not having to worry about stuff. He'll be around. He's going to have a job of some sort. I think the Mercury just reported what that job would be. But it's only temporary. He's ready to retire and wander into the sunset. But he wants to make sure Colin is on good footing. And I think he wants to be available to him, certainly during the first year. And he's got Bill Snyder, too. Bill, coach isn't quite in the same condition he was when he retired, but still, you've got him out there. So I think everyone wants Colin to succeed. And I'm just mad at Chris Kleiman for going to Florida for like 4 months and coming back tan. I'm not saying I'm jealous. Okay, I'm saying I'm jealous. I'm really jealous. I bet he ends up retired down there, but he's never going to want to wander too far away from college football.
Talking to Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com here on 580 Sports Talk. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Let's pivot over to basketball, where Casey Alexander has his first two commitments to next year's K-State roster, and they're both high school players. Jalen Alexander and Devin Hutcherson were both committed to play for Alexander at Belmont. They will now come and play for Alexander at Kansas State. And we have talked at length about how there's a lot of desire to do things completely the opposite of the way they were being done before. You see that with most coaching changes, to be honest, especially ones that come in the circumstance that Kansas State changed basketball coaches. But to have the first two commitments to next year's roster be high school commitments, boy, we are definitely in a different era, aren't we?
Yeah. Kind of refreshing for fans to see high school signings. And I think one thing K-State fans don't fully appreciate is how much talent was going down to the non-power level, because power schools, most were still recruiting high school players, but not in the same numbers. So both of these players, man, you watch their film and they seem to be really good fits. But the thing about what Casey Alexander is going to try to do is meld the philosophies together. He's great at developing young players. He's shown that. He's provided players the portal. In fact, I'm working on a graphic at Tyler Lundblade, one of his, fifth-year senior, just committed to Tennessee. So K-State didn't get him, but he's another example of a player that comes out of Belmont and goes to a high level. So he knows how to develop these dudes. So he's going to have to meld that together with his own portal work, bringing guys in and finding some guys to fill out this roster. It's going to be very interesting to watch him work this next couple months.
It's been a long time since we could talk about, and I don't want to give Bruce Weber or coaches that preceded him short shrift when it came to high school recruiting. I mean, Bruce Weber did a fine job when it came to bringing high school players into the program and having them be four-year guys, Barry Brown, Dean Wade, guys like that, certainly. But it does feel like it's been a while since Kansas State fans were able to really kind of get excited about, okay, here is a coach who really can find the diamond in the rough kind of high school player. And I know we've talked about this at length, Fitz, how much more sense that makes for Kansas State to approach high school recruiting that way than it does for them to start taking swings at five-star recruits that are going to go where the shoe companies want them to go.
Yeah, I think at Kansas State, you have to have a fundamentally sound developmental program. even in this era. You got to develop your own talent and then try to keep them. I think the Chris Kleiman approach to the transfer portal he applied in football is really viable in basketball at Kansas State, which is you try to aim your money inward. You're not going to be able to do that this year. They're going to go find some dudes. But I think that is something we will see them do, is try to use NIL money to retain as they develop. And I'm looking forward to seeing basketball players who can do things, radical things like dribble and pass, and know how to play defense. So I'm very excited to have a true basketball coach on the floor now, a guy that is known for X's and O's and developing players with sound fundamentals more so than how he attains talent.
The last one for you, Tim Fitzgerald. We're going to pivot and talk about a sport we don't normally talk about. And if that's happening, either something really good or something really bad has happened in that sports sphere. And it appears to be the latter case with K-State women's soccer coach Colleen Corbin having been suspended for the repeated use of a racial slur. Is the suspension the length to which discipline is going to go there, or is there something maybe more to that story that could be germinating behind the scenes with regards to the suspension of the second-year head coach?
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be more to it. She's an assistant coach quit over it. And let's be clear, the headline said for using, we know what word it was, right?
Right.
But she wasn't directing it to someone. She wasn't calling someone that. She wasn't referring to another human being with that word. She was very upset with her team, as the story goes. Again, we don't know the whole story probably. For the players selected their pregame music for their game the other day, and they used rap songs with the hard R in it over the public address, which she should have caught, and she didn't. And she was very angry, and that was her fault. And she repeated the word as something that shouldn't be repeated, ironically. I think a lot of us know, even in that context, you don't use the word, but she did. If that's how it was used, a coach quitting over that seems a little bit over the top. And I think 2 weeks is a little bit over the top. But again, just what are we doing here? Don't even use the word, even in explanation that you shouldn't use the word, which is apparently what was going on.
Right. That's one of those where we're really clear. Like, we have a way to refer to that word without using it for a reason, right?
Right. But I just think it's interesting that she was suspended for telling her players not to do it, and the players who actually played the music with the words in it were okay. It's the way it is. It's leadership now. You got to make zero mistakes.
Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com is our guest. He joins us every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Fitz, appreciate you as always. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, my friend.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. And we will take a break, come back, and put a wrap on this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk after this. Wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com for joining us. If you have not heard that story from the K-State women's soccer program about their head coach being suspended for use of a racial slur, we'll get to that in headlines coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. We'll also have One Gotta Go, and we'll preview Royals baseball, which, to the best of our knowledge, is still happening tonight at Kauffman Stadium. 6 o'clock pregame right here on 580 WIBW. Appreciate those of you joining us on the YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. They're talking favorite concerts real quick. I've been to Red Rocks, and I've seen my favorite band in person, Queens of the Stone Age. Not really a big concert guy other than that. If I never see another one, I think I'm good. That's just me, though. I'm a little weird like that. We got one more hour, 580 Sports Talk. Hang with us on WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on a Wednesday evening here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. So many ways you can catch the show. And however you're doing so, we appreciate you being along on this hump day. My name is Dan Lucero with you until 6 o'clock, and we'll turn out the lights and hopefully get to watch some Royals baseball if the weather cooperates. Royals and Twins scheduled for Game 2 of their 3-game series tonight at the K. Noah Cameron, the second-year southpaw on the hill for KC. Royal killer Joe Ryan toes the slab for the Twinkies. First pitch scheduled for 6:40. We'll preview the game a little bit, get you the lineups, all that good stuff coming up a little bit later on in this hour. Also this hour, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Lots of news emanating from the owners' meetings. Roger Goodell's press conference. I believe he spoke late yesterday, so we didn't really get a chance to get to it on yesterday's headlines. We'll get to it today. So we've got some of that. We've got some college basketball news to get to. Very interesting story from the mid-major college basketball world to tell you about. So headlines coming up. Maybe we'll play a little One Gotta Go. We'll round out this hour, and we'll have a good time here on 580 Sports Talk. Interested in hearing from you as we go. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. 785-272-9429 to text the program. Appreciate hearing from you on the text line. Also, get at us in the live chat, which has been very lively today over on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. If you are watching the show live, there is a live chat that you can interact with throughout the program, interact with yours truly and your hosts, or interact with your fellow listeners, which a lot of you right now are chatting about your favorite concerts, best shows you've ever seen, which is really cool. I've enjoyed reading the chat during the commercial break there at the top of the hour. Like I said before we went to the last break, I don't know if it was the last concert I went to, technically speaking. The last concert I bought a ticket for to go see on purpose was, I think, coming up on 15 years ago. I've been to a concert in 15 years. I saw Queens of the Stone Age. They're my favorite band of all time. I don't know if I've shared that with you guys, but Queens of the Stone Age is my favorite band. And I saw them in Omaha at the Sokol Auditorium. I was living in Nebraska at the time. I was living in western Nebraska at the time, but I heard those guys were coming to Omaha, and I said, yeah, I'll drive 4 hours back and forth to go see those guys. And I did. And it was awesome. The show ripped. That was back, I think it was 2010 or 2011. So it's been a long time since I last attended a concert. My live entertainment dollar typically goes to sporting events. And now that I am the parent of a nearly 2-year-old, I don't have a live entertainment dollar anymore. and I won't for a while. So that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, I haven't seen a concert in a really long time. I have been to Red Rocks, though. I mean, you can't grow up in Colorado and not go see a show at Red Rocks. Saw Incubus at Red Rocks. Y'all remember them? I would still listen to them. I think their stuff still holds up. Saw Incubus at Red Rocks. Want to say mid-2000s. I don't remember the exact year. I really don't. What I never understood about concerts, and I still don't understand this, because I know this is still, for a lot of people, like what you do at the concert. You go to the concert, you get loaded, and then you don't even remember the headliner, because you're just there to get absolutely off your feet drunk. And I've seen that at every concert I've ever been to, which, again, not a big number. But I've never understood that. Like, what's the point? Why'd you go? Why'd you spend all that money to go see whoever if you're not going to be awake for their set because you had 12 White Claws in the parking lot and then you kept at it once you got into the stadium or once you got into the venue? Never made any sense to me that was the way that people would choose to, like, your good time is your good time. And I'm not necessarily here to tell you how to have a good time. I just don't know how that's a good time. Like, if I go to a concert, if I pay my well-earned dollar to go see like the headlining act, I'm going to make sure I'm alert to hear their music because that's what I'm there for. That text from the 913 says, I bought tickets to see Rage Against the Machine the last 2 times they were scheduled to come to Kansas City. They canceled both, and then they retired from live shows for good. That stinks, brother. I feel that. I feel your pain there, man. I was a big Rage Against the Machine fan in high school. I still like their music. I would still listen to them. Shoot, Bulls on Parade? You kidding me? Killing in the Name? Who is it? Speaking of, I'm on a tangent here to start this hour. It was the pep band, Baser Linwood's pep band at the state tournament this year. Baser Linwood's pep band, before their game against Shawnee Heights in the girls' 5A state tournament, when they were playing in Kansas City in the quarterfinals, their pep band played a rendition of Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine. And I thought to myself, none of these kids were alive when Rage Against the Machine was a going concern. And that's not to say that the kids cannot know the songs of yesteryear, but like, who introduced them? I want to know who introduced them to the idea of playing Killing in the Name. And also, have they listened to those lyrics? How they feel about those lyrics? Anyway, I thought that was really cool. I thought that was the second best performance by a pep band that I saw this year. And the best, and everybody across the state will tell you that this is the case, Rock Creek's pep band is incredible. And a lot of that is down to their electric guitarist and their drummer. I'd buy a ticket to see those guys. I'll tell you what, those kids ripped. They ripped through during the 4A state championship game, which Rock Creek ended up losing to Baldwin. But they ripped through a song we use as a return bed on this show. They ripped through My Own Summer by the Deftones. I guess they're just Deftones. They're not the Deftones. You talk about a band I still revisit and really like. They ripped through My Own Summer, the last place I would ever expect to hear that song at a high school basketball game, but they killed it. Rock Creek's pep band rules. Shout out to Rock Creek's pep band. Anyhow, let's get into some headlines, shall we? Keep it up in the text line. Keep it up in the YouTube live chat. Appreciate hearing from you guys. Really enjoying the conversation. But let's get into some headlines. And let's start with this story that maybe is just now getting onto your radar. This broke late yesterday afternoon. We were wrapping up the show as this was breaking, so we really didn't get a chance to get it into yesterday's headline segment. But we brought it up with Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com, who joined us, and we thank him again for joining us in the 4 o'clock hour for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. Kansas State University has suspended women's soccer head coach Colleen Corbin for 2 weeks following the use of a racial slur, even though her use of the term was objecting to its use. Tim Everson of the Manhattan Mercury was the first one to this story. So K-State soccer played an exhibition game in Kansas City against Arkansas on March 7th. And before the game, Kansas State's players, and Tim Fitzgerald helped us fill in some of the blanks here, K-State's players picked the pregame music, but did not vet the lyrics of the pregame music. I mean, come on, girls. This is like pregame warm-up music lesson 1. Get the edited versions. That's the easiest thing. Well, I guess it's not the easiest thing to do anymore. It's a lot harder to find edited versions of songs these days, radio-friendly versions of songs that don't get played on the radio. Used to be, you could buy, like, edited CDs. Like, you know, like mainstream artists would put out copies of their CDs back when you bought CDs, which is dating me and all of us. You could just buy the edited CD. I have an edited copy of the 1998 album It's Dark and Hell is Hot by rapper DMX that I was sold by a friend because I wanted the album because I really liked Rough Riders Anthem. But I did not know it was an edited version. He pulled a fast one on me. He sold it to me because he accidentally bought the edited version, and his parents didn't care about no edited version, so he bought the wrong thing, and he sold it to me. And I had the edited version, which I can tell you that went over a lot smoother in my house. I could not have brought the unedited version of It's Dark and Hell is Hot into my home, but I had the edited version of that CD. Anyway, it's harder than it used to be maybe to find edited versions of songs, but you got to do it. You can't go out there and play the dirty versions. You're not DJing a club set. You're playing an exhibition soccer game in front of friends and family. You got to be smart than that. Anyway, coach was not happy. Colleen Corbin, not happy about it, and kind of reamed her team out for it. And in the course of expressing her disappointment over the choice of language in the songs, included the N-word. And that's a really easy way to not actually say the word. It's just to refer to the N-word. Well, Colleen Corbin thought, I guess it would underscore her point if she said the word repeatedly, which led to players complaining to the university. Corbin later, according to the report from the Mercury, used the word again when relaying the situation during a staff meeting. And the end result is that assistant coach Maddie Dobbins resigned her position, and Dobbins was hired in January to join the staff. And she was willing to walk away 2 months into her tenure over this particular episode. The athletic department issued a statement to the Manhattan Mercury that read, Coach Colleen Corbin was suspended for 2 weeks following offensive lyrics played during warm-ups before a spring match. While addressing the issue, the coach inappropriately repeated the offensive lyrics. The incident was reported to the university's Civil Rights and Title IX office, and K-State Athletics took action, issuing a suspension. Athletics takes these matters seriously and expects coaches and players to respect others. It's not been reported if the suspension is with or without pay. Corbin is second-year head coach, K-State women's soccer, and has the program moving in a good direction. They had their first ever winning season last year. And they've got another exhibition match coming up, which I don't know if she'll be clear of the suspension. I think she will be when they play against Creighton in Omaha 11 days from now. But it certainly does feel like there's a lot more to this story. If it led to, like, look, first of all, got to be smart. Don't say the word. That's a word. If you look like Colleen Corbin and you look like me, can't say that word. Just can't do it. Can't quote it. Can't say it. Just, you don't need to. Why? Because you just don't need to say it. And I don't think saying it made Colleen Corbin's point any more, underscored her point any further than it already was underscored. Just don't say it. But for her saying it in the context that she said it, to have led to player complaints and the resignation of a newly hired staff member, that tells me that maybe there's, and maybe it's not more to this specific story, but that there's more maybe going on there that would lead to it becoming this much of a thing. So keep our eye on that story. It's I don't know that it would qualify as a developing situation, but certainly just not a thing to do. Let this be a lesson. There are some words you just don't need to say out loud. You can go ahead saying the N-word. We all know what you mean. We all know what you mean. It's not knowledge, right? We all know what you mean by the N-word. You don't need to actually say it. Anyhow, next headline. Let's go to Roger Goodell and his press conference that he gave last night in Phoenix. If you've not seen this story, Florida's Attorney General, a gentleman named James Uthmeyer, sent a letter to Roger Goodell threatening to sue the league if the Rooney Rule was not eliminated. Obviously, there's politics behind that. And if you want me to flesh that out further, you would have to pay me to do a different radio show than the sports talk show that I'm doing right now. No interest in doing that here. Anyhow, Roger Goodell made a public statement backing the Rooney Rule, saying, quote, "One thing that doesn't change is our values. We believe that diversity has been a benefit to the National Football League. We are well aware of the laws, and where the laws are changing or evolving, we think the Rooney Rule is consistent with those." Of course, the Rooney Rule requires teams to interview at least one minority candidate for head coaching vacancies, general manager and coordinator positions, as well as the quarterback coach positions. Has that resulted in a wide swath of minority head coaching candidates being hired? There are 3 of them right now out of 32 in the NFL. It is a vast majority of those positions occupied by white men in what is a league where the workforce is predominantly black men, which is one of the reasons that a Rooney Rule makes sense and why diversity in leadership makes sense. Anyway, being challenged by the attorney general in Florida. I think he's up for re-election this year. So a bit political posturing, perhaps, but Roger Goodell says they're not going to back down on that particular policy. Other things that Goodell addressed with the media, talking about the idea that the season might start with replacement officials. The NFL is exploring their use as there is not much movement between the league and the NFL Referees Association. Goodell saying, quote, "We will be prepared to play. We are taking appropriate steps to be ready, but we're also keenly focused on negotiation. So we'd like to get a negotiated deal, and we certainly are focused on that." He would go on to add, "We know that we can take officials who aren't performing at that level and either work with them to get better or find other officials who can do it." He says the NFL's number one objective is improving officiating. He could have fooled me. You asked me, what's the number one objective of the NFL? I think I would have told you to play a game on every day of the calendar year. That's what I would have told you. Play on every single day in every country in the world, from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe, from New Year's Day to Flag Day. We got to have a game. I thought that was the NFL's number one objective. Goodell also did not issue firm updates on the status of Giants co-owner Steve Tisch and his standing in the league. He was included in a bunch of emails involving Jeffrey Epstein, which is a very uncomfortable batch of emails to find your name in. Also, no update on the status of Detroit Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold, whose name has been linked to an assault and robbery case in Florida, but who is also not currently facing charges. So that's the latest from the NFL's commissioner. Next headline. We're going to mid-major college basketball for this one. Campbell University. If you are familiar with Campbell University basketball, it is probably because you know that Campbell's nickname is the Fighting Camels, which is objectively sick. The Camels this past year were not particularly good, as it turned out. They finished 9th in the Colonial. I don't think it's called the Colonial anymore. I think they changed the name of that conference. Or am I thinking of a different one that they changed the name of? Anyway, Campbell went 8-10 in the league. They went 16-18 overall. They did win the one of their first round games in the CAA tournament. They beat the number 1 seed UNC Wilmington and knocked them out of tournament consideration, but then lost to Monmouth in the next round, and that was the end of their season. They compete. It is the Coastal Athletic Association now. It is no longer the Colonial. Anyway, Campbell's head coach is a gentleman whose name I'm definitely going to mispronounce, John Andrzejek. Wish I had my guy Brendan here. He'd help us with the Polish pronunciation. Anyhow, it was his first year as head coach at Campbell. He had previously been an assistant at Florida. He was an assistant on the national championship team in 2025. And he is leaving Campbell after just one season to become the associate head coach at Louisville. And what he left behind in his resignation note that was posted to his social media account, well, what he left behind is a warning. This is what it reads. I say this with a very heavy heart, but I'll be stepping down as your head men's basketball coach. And then there's a lot of really nice things about the Camels and the alumni and the people in Bowie's Creek and at the campus and all that good stuff. And then we get to this, quote, over the last 6 months, it has become clear that Campbell has made the decision to shift their commitment from basketball. Simply put, the institution now has different priorities, and they are not compatible with putting the kind of team on the floor that you deserve. As difficult as this is, I respect the decision and understand it as one that the university feels it must make in what are unprecedented times in higher education. Despite months of intense work and collaboration with AD Hannah Bazemore and our terrific athletics administration, and several creative options that were proposed and thoroughly explored, there are no pathways that the institution will support to fund the program appropriately moving forward. And then there are some more thank yous and a roll humps from Coach John A. And that's the statement. No pathways for which the program will be adequately funded moving forward. That is a hell of a thing to say publicly. And frankly, because Coach John A. is not leaving this job without a safe landing spot. Like, he's not just resigning to resign. He got an opportunity to go back to the Power 5 level as a high-ranking assistant head coach with Pat Kelsey at Louisville, and he took it. I don't think anybody necessarily would have blamed him for doing that. There are lots of instances of coaches at the mid-major level who go back to be assistants at the Power 5 level because they see that as a more viable and maybe a higher-paying route to the kind of job they really want, a coach at a high major level. But to totally nuke Campbell basketball on the way out and make it hard for Campbell to hire the next guy, because, boy, if I'm on Campbell's list, if they're calling me, hey, you have any interest in being our next head men's basketball coach? Well, I did. But now I have some questions. Questions that need answers about just how committed you are to helping me succeed. Yeah, I don't think he had to do all that. On the one hand, respect the man's honesty. But on the other, did you really have to throw that nuke back at the bridge that you were safely across? I don't know. I don't know that that was necessary. Even if it is true, and I have no trouble believing that it's true. I don't necessarily think this is, this coach is whining because, he didn't get enough NIL money. No, I genuinely think that there are athletic departments, Division I men's basketball programs in particular. There are so many Division I basketball programs. Do y'all know? Do you know the number? You listeners, do you know how many Division I men's basketball programs there are? There are 365. That is too many. That is far too many. And there are a lot of those programs that would be much better served with less of a financial commitment to try and achieve something that you're not likely to achieve. It might be better served, say, in Division II or in Division III, who might have a more solid recruiting base at a lower level, who would certainly have more comparable facilities. I'm telling you right now, you go look at the facilities in the MIAA and you go look at the facilities in, say, the Northeast Conference or the MAC, the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Conference. Tell me which conference has better facilities. It's the MIAA. The NSIC has better facilities. These programs are still hanging on to that D1 dream, and there's a lot more required of being competitive at that level. And a guy who's been a part of a national championship coaching staff might understand that pretty well. So while I don't necessarily think he needed to go public with what he said, I don't necessarily think that was the fairest thing to do to Campbell's athletic department, to the returning players, to Campbell's basketball program. I don't think he really thought this all the way through. But maybe let this be a lesson for the Campbell University programs of the world that maybe the whole D1 thing isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe you'd be better served not doing the D1 thing. But you see more programs elevating to D1 than you do dropping down to Division II or Division III. Even though it probably should be the other way around. One more headline, and this is one that will bear watching with the Final Four coming up this weekend. Michigan starting point guard Elliot Cadeau was treated for a possible allergic reaction and is receiving medical attention before traveling to Indianapolis for the Final Four. Now, the good news for Michigan is Ann Arbor is fairly close to Indianapolis. It's not that long a flight or a car ride, but Cadeau, apparently, according to a statement from the team, alerted the medical staff that he may have had an allergic reaction to something that he ate. The doctors evaluated Elliot. He is fine. Out of an abundance of caution, he will receive medical supervision and will be traveling to Indianapolis later today. Michigan's backup point guard's hurt, out for the year. So Cadeau, already a pretty important piece for that team. Super important, because he's really the only true point guard they've got. So hopefully he's all right. Sounds like he is. And hopefully we will see him on the floor, no ill effects, come Saturday's national semifinals. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk after this. Well, One Gotta Go is canceled for today because there's one who isn't going anywhere. Breaking news, statement from the Kansas men's basketball program. Jayhawk Nation, with renewed clarity and the ongoing support from our administration, I remain focused and committed to Kansas basketball competing for a national championship. I look forward to seeing and hearing the best fans in college basketball next season at Allen Fieldhouse. Signed, Coach Bill Self. And as we suggested in the 3 o'clock hour, no news for the past week was in fact news. And now we have the confirmation, again, minutes ago. I'm not joking. I got the text notification as we were going to break there on headlines. Bill Self will return to the Kansas sideline in the 2026-27 season. Interesting phrasing, renewed clarity and the ongoing support for our administration. I guess that would be my first question next time Bill Self has a press conference, whenever that may be. Clarity about what? Clarity about your health, clarity about the future of the program, clarity about the commitment to the roster in terms of NIL resources, financial resources, clarity about what the roster in 2026-27 is going to look like. Where did the clarity come from? And I'm not like, that's not an accusatory question. Like, I'm not saying Bill is lying when he says renewed clarity. I certainly believe that clarity comes with time, right? And I am sure that there were times during this most recent Kansas season, I'm sure there have been times over the last 3 years where Bill Self has probably wondered to himself, can I keep doing this? Health-wise, can I keep doing this? Do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep putting myself through this? And I'm sure it felt pretty low after losing at the buzzer to St. John's. And it would not surprise me if the notion that Bill Self might have had walking out of Viejas Arena that night in San Diego might have been, did I just coach my last game? I might have just coached my last game. But clarity comes with time. Clarity comes with removal from a situation. And Self's had a week and a half to reflect on his own health, his own future, what he wants to do. And he said it after the game. I love what I do. I just want to feel good doing it. Paraphrase, that's not the exact quote, but it's essentially the quote. I love what I do. I want to feel good doing it. With belief or clarity about his health, I think maybe being the most important thing, if that's what he has, then that would make me happy. That would make me happy if Bill Self feels like health-wise, I'm invigorated, I feel good, I feel like nothing's standing in my way of being able to coach next season without any further risk to myself. I hope that's the case. I really do. And I'm sure that part of the conversation, because like we talked about last week, like KU had to have clarity, especially once Hubert Davis got fired at UNC. KU had to know whether or not it was going to be searching for a new men's basketball coach at the same time that one of the only other jobs in America that's fishing out of the same stock for basketball coaches is also looking for a coach. Kansas needed to know if that was going to be the case. So they needed a decision from Bill Self. And I'm sure that decision didn't come Monday morning or maybe even Tuesday morning. But I'm sure the thought had to be as well, all right, well, if I'm going to come back, this is what I'm going to need. This is what this roster is going to need. Can we make this happen? Can we make Stokes happen? That's the big question that I'm sure that Bill Self needed answered before he needed any other question answered. Can we make Tyron Stokes happen? Can we make some real shooting happen in the transfer portal? Go get some 40% knockdown corner three makers instead of a bunch of guys who are going to stand around and shoot 34% from three. And I got no space for Darren Peterson to operate on the ball. And the spacing is so bad on this team, I've got to take Darren Peterson off the ball. Otherwise, we would never score. There had to be answers to those questions, too. And I think they were probably of equal importance. The questions about the health and the questions about, all right, can we take this roster and can we level it up next year? We had the best high school player, arguably, in America on last year's roster. Can we get the best high school player in America on this roster next year? So Bill Self is back. Year 24 loading for the Hall of Fame head coach in Lawrence. That is just breaking as of the last 10 minutes. Pete Thamel reporting for ESPN. No additional details from Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzello outside of what is in the statement and obviously Bill Self's career achievements and the struggles he's had with his heart health the last few years. So that's all we know for now. If we find out anything else here in the next 20 minutes, we'll fill you in before we sign off. But we're going to take a break here. We'll come back. We'll talk a little baseball. Royals and Twins coming up tonight. We think. Rain, go away. We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk. 542 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero with you on this Wednesday. So we come down the home stretch of the program today. I saw the statement from Bill Self retweeted from the @KU Hoops account on X. What I did not see was before they posted it, it was a 2-tweet thread. And the @KU Hoops account on X first posted, "This account will not be acknowledging nor participating in April Fool's Day. We tell you this because ... And then the next post, the next tweet was the statement from Bill Self with the caption, "He's not going anywhere." You got to be careful in these streets. I promised you today at the top of the show, and I continue to promise and pledge to you, we don't do the April Fool's pranks around here. Most of them aren't funny. Let me be real honest. Most of them are not funny. And I have a responsibility to you as a listener not to freak you out. If I'm going to do a prank, it's going to be a good one. It's not going to be a tossed off, well, hey, I don't know if you heard, but the Royals are signing Barry Bonds. Like, I have more respect for my audience than to do a hacky April Fool's joke. If we ever do something, we're going to do it big. We're going to do it well. And today wasn't the day for that. So, April Fool's prank-free edition of 580 Sports Talk. Sorry if you were expecting one, and that was a letdown in some form or fashion. But hopefully we have baseball tonight. Hopefully that's not an April Fool's prank, and the rain stays away at least long enough to get some baseball on the radio. 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch from the Royals Baseball Network here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. The Royals and the Twins playing game 2 of their 3-game series. Royals seeking their first winning streak of the season, their first time over 500 on the season, and their first series win of the season tonight against Minnesota. Noah Cameron makes his first start of the season for the Boys in Blue. Joe Ryan, the noted Royal killer, gets the start on the mound for the Twins. Though the Royals did knock out Ryan after just 2 innings in his most recent start against the Royals, in Ryan's career, he has totally choked out the Kansas City Bats. Pulling up the numbers here at Baseball Reference. Career numbers against the Royals in 11 starts, the Royals are hitting 176 against Joe Ryan. His lifetime record is 8-1 with a 2.02 earned run average and 66 strikeouts to just 15 walks in 62 1/3 innings. And that's including a dud of a start his last time. The last time was the first time the Royals had ever beaten him. Back on September 6th last year, they tuned him up, 5 runs on 4 hits and 4 walks in 2 innings, and handed him a loss for the first time ever. But the previous 10 starts had been sterling for Ryan against the Royals. He'll try to get back to form against Kansas City lineup that looks, well, the same as it looked on opening day. Michael Garcia will lead off at third base, followed by Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinny Pasquantino at first. Salvador Perez does the catching. Carter Jensen will DH. Jonathan India is at second base. Jack Caglione batting 7th in right field. Isaac Collins in left. Kyle Isbell in center. Lineup for the Twins will look like this. Austin Martin will bat leadoff and play left field. Byron Buxton's in center. Luke Keeschel is the second baseman. Matt Wallner will bat cleanup in right field. Ryan Jeffers does the catching, batting 5th. Josh Bell, the switch hitter, is the DH, batting 6th. Then Victor Caratini, another switch hitter, is the first baseman. Royce Lewis, third baseman, batting 8th. And Brooks Lee, the third switch hitter in that Twins 9, is the shortstop. He is batting 9th. So a pretty similar lineup to what fellow Southpaw Chris Bubich saw on Monday afternoon. I think the only difference is Wallner and Jeffers flip-flopped because Wallner was batting 5th on Monday and homered off of Bubich, so he moves into the cleanup spot left on left, and Jeffers drops to 5th. Excited to see Noah Cameron this year. We didn't really talk much about him in spring training. I don't know that we came to his number in our countdown to first pitch. But while you had steady old Michael Wacha and you had the injuries to Reagans and Bubic to monitor, and you had Seth Lugo's really disappointing finish to 2025 to monitor, Noah Cameron was just solid all the way through his rookie season. Never really wavered, never really had a stretch of really ugly outings, and finished the year with an ERA under 3 in 24 starts and 138 and a third innings pitched. Now, he was not a top-tier bat misser. I don't think he's ever going to be. I don't think he has overpowering stuff. He's going to rely on his defense to an extent. Struck out 7.5 batters per 9 last year. That's not awful. That's not unworkable, but it's also not like Cole Reagan's elite level. His strength was command. Doesn't walk guys. Less than 3 walks per 9, which you like to see. Towards the end, there were some struggles with the long ball. I think that's going to be the biggest thing to watch for Cameron in year 2. Can he keep the ball in the park? 3 things that predicate success for pitchers. Can you make guys swing and miss? Can you fill up the strike zone and avoid the free pass? Can you keep the ball in the ballpark? It's a tougher task for Royals pitchers at home than it has been with the fences moving in this year. Although chilly 1st of April day with the threat of rain, you're maybe not as worried about the long ball from a pitcher's perspective on a day like today. But over the long haul, can he keep that number down? He gave up 18 home runs in 138 and a third innings last year. That's over 1 per 9. You'd like that to come down a little bit. It was a tick by percentage. He gave up a home run to 3.2% of hitters he faced, which by percentage is slightly above league average, but not, like, again, so far above league average that you think, oh, I can't work with this. And obviously, Cameron made it shake pretty successfully with his ERA sitting at 2.99. But it's year 2. There's a book on him now. There's an understanding of how he's going to pitch. How does Noah Cameron adjust? There's not a lot that's going to be asked of him. He doesn't have to turn in an ERA under 3 to be a valuable part of the Royals rotation this year, especially if there's health at the top with Reagans especially and with Bubic. But he'll be an interesting guy to watch this year because he was successful, and he was successful in a bit of an unconventional way. And the suggestion, looking at the peripheral numbers, is that he probably isn't going to be a guy that turns in ERAs around 3 his entire career. But you don't need that from your number 5. You'll take an ERA around 4 if that's what Noah Cameron is, but he proves to be what he was in terms of his workload last year, which was a guy who could get you, like the other 4 guys have been so far this year, a guy that can get you deep into a game, that can give you 6, that can work into the 7th. You give yourself a chance to do that when you don't walk a lot of guys. When you're ahead in counts, when you make quick work of hitters. Can he be a good number 5 starter? I think that is not a bar that will be particularly difficult for Cameron to clear. And I'm excited to see how he starts his 2026 season, particularly against the Twins lineup that's going to throw a lot of right-handers at him. He's not going to have a platoon advantage much tonight, but it's not been a lineup that showed a lot of thunder early in 2026. So fascinated by that. He might have to be pretty sharp because Joe Ryan usually is against the Royals. So we'll see how he fares. Again, 6:40 scheduled first pitch, a 6 o'clock pregame right here on your home for the Royals, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll take one last break here on the show, come back and put a wrap on things with a final word on 580 Sports Talk. Time to wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk. We do it with a little thing that we call the final word. And my final word today is in relation to that breaking news from just about half an hour ago from the source himself. Bill Self will be back for a 24th season on the Kansas sideline, adding that he has renewed clarity after the disappointing end in the second round of the NCAA tournament to this most recent season, that he is looking forward to being on the sideline and in front of the best fans in college basketball at Allen Fieldhouse again this next season. My hope for Bill Self remains the same, that he will get to decide for himself when he is done coaching and not have his heart or his health otherwise decide for him that he can no longer coach. I think anybody deserves that, deserves the opportunity to go out on their own terms. And the reality of sports, the reality of life is we're not all afforded that luxury. We aren't. We all want it for ourselves. I think we all want it for people whose careers that we follow and respect. We don't just, I think, want to see Bill Self go out on his own terms. We want to see him go out with a deep tournament run that inspires the thoughts of the Final Four in 2018, the national championships in 2008 and in 2022. I know he's been at other Final Fours. I mentioned the 2018 one because that's the one I got to go to in person. I think that was, about 8 years ago today. I think I was at the Alamo Dome for those national semifinals, KU losing to eventual champ Villanova, of course. But we'd love to see one more great run for Bill Self. We maybe not all inclusive to those listening to this. Those of you who are K-State fans maybe don't have much interest in a Hollywood ending for Bill Self. And believe me, I understand that's a rivalry for you. But ultimately, you don't always get to choose. You don't always get to script your own ending. And I hope, at least from a health perspective, if not from a basketball perspective, that Bill Self gets to script his, whether it's at the end of the 2026-27 season or whether it's even further ahead of us on the horizon than we realize. That's going to do it for us today here on 580 Sports Talk. We will be back tomorrow at some point. It's our first Royals day game preemption. It's not our first. We were off the air entirely on Monday, but we will be waiting for the end of Royals baseball tomorrow. They are scheduled for a 1:10 first pitch. Probably means the Royals Baseball Network will be off the air around 4 o'clock, given the average start time and end time of games and their post-game show. So we anticipate being on the air around 4 o'clock, between 4 and 4:30. We'll take you until 6 tomorrow. We'll recap the Royals and have a good time on tomorrow's show. But enjoy the baseball tonight, weather permitting, and tomorrow afternoon. We'll be back with you tomorrow. My name is Dan Lucero, and this has been 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Royals Baseball's next. Good night.